Good morning, this is Dan LaMontagne. It is Tuesday, March 15th, 2011. Well, I'm sure everyone's heard about the tragic events that occurred in Japan, and that there is probably going to be record loss of lives with this hurricane, with this earthquake, and this tsunami that subsequently destroyed much of the area that was impacted in Japan. And while obviously that's certainly at the forefront of the news these days, and for good reason, certainly with regard to the human life it's lost and all of the damage and the power plants and everything, it's probably also important to note that there is an economic impact to this. And for those of us who are, also keeping our eye on, the investment world and economics, it's important to note that all events, whether or not they have roots in a very sort of sensitive subject, are economically rooted, and this one is no exception. And certain people, Jim Cramer has pointed out that he thinks nuclear energy is dead because of this, and I didn't read through the article, but it's pretty obvious to see why he would think so. I know clearly you see that there's 2 nuclear reactors that are now, on the brink of potentially melting down. I'm not sure if it's 2 or just 1, but certainly there's a risk for another catastrophe to occur. And this is not going to bode well for the nuclear power industry or suppliers of uranium. This is going to look pretty bad for that. But I also think there's another disaster on the horizon that this one, and it's not even on the horizon, it may be right in front of our eyes at this point. We may be witnessing an economic tsunami, and I don't make that comparison lightly, because I think that this may be sort of the final domino that we see that may crush the worldwide economic markets. And here's why. Think about all this debt and the debt crisis that we have going on right now. One of the main players in the debt crisis is obviously the United States. And the United States has been able to sort of skirt its responsibilities in paying for its debt, in part because foreign buyers of debt are still buying, and foreign holders of debt are still holding, at least to some degree, their debt of United States treasuries. So this kind of keeps the United States afloat. Problem is that the second largest holder of U.S. debt, and up until fairly recently the largest, is Japan. And Japan is undergoing a crisis right now. So it stands to reason that the government is going to have to do a whole lot to repair, after the tsunami, it's going to have to do a whole lot financially to repair what damage has been done. And it's going to cost money to do that. It's also going to cost money to respond to the disaster as it still continues. This is going to cost billions and billions of dollars for the Japanese government and for the Japanese people. And I imagine that, when you spend money, it has to come from somewhere. And there's a good chance that this might be a good excuse for the Japanese to unload some of their U.S. treasuries. Now, that could be bad for the United States. If the United States now suddenly has to pay out Japan for its obligations in U.S. treasuries, then the U.S. is now going to have to find another buyer. And if it does that, it may have to raise their interest rates, or it may have to use the Federal Reserve as the buyer of last resort, which would just cause inflation. So that's a possibility. The other possibility is maybe the U.S. goes to the rescue and helps to, rescue Japan so it doesn't have to do that. Well, then that just causes inflation anyway. So either way, the United States is either going to experience inflation, which is pretty likely in this scenario because it's going to be politically savvy to do so, or it's going to experience a situation where they're going to have basically default because they're not going to be able to get any buyers of the debt aside from possibly the Federal Reserve. And right now, the Federal Reserve is not someone that most people are worldwide, at least, are seeing as being a buyer for U.S. Treasuries because there are no buyers worldwide. But if that becomes the perception, that could certainly change the perception of the dollar as the world's reserve currency, and could cause a domino effect and destroy our reserve currency status, and therefore severely change the way we live in the United States. So I just wanted to say here first that I believe that this could be the final nail in the coffin for the U.S. Economic crisis yet to come. I believe that maybe we could see this crisis unfold in the next couple of months because of what is going on. I mean, certainly we're seeing another rush to the dollar because of the yen is certainly not going to be certainly not going to be a very favorable currency right now with all of the the disaster that's going on over there. So there's certainly investors who are fleeing to the dollar right now. But that was the same kind of mentality that occurred prior or right after the housing crisis, and look what happened to the dollar after that. People are going to wisen up, especially after they see where all the money is flowing. After Japan starts to ask the U.S. government for some of its money. Anyway, that's it for today, and I hope that you will watch again soon. Thanks.